Welcome back. Today is Thursday, and that means acting analysis for animators. And today I'm going to take a look at the movie Borg versus McEnroe. Technically, I would have looked at Maniac today, the show on Netflix, but then I saw that my rental was expiring for Borg vs. McEnroe in a couple hours. I had to watch that movie, and I'm glad I did because it was really good. I really liked it. I liked the cinematography, colors, the acting was great, the performances overall were really cool, and I liked that it had a focus on actually playing tennis. Like, I like Battle of the Sexes and like how it was more about the characters and the situation around it and the importance of that face-off. But I also play tennis and I love tennis and I love watching people playing tennis. And this movie showed that a lot. It's like the whole last half hour is basically the last game. I don't want to spoil too much. You should watch it, especially if you're into tennis. But as always, I found some little pieces here and there that I think could be really cool that you could apply to your animation. Towards the end, the second half is good performances, but it's a lot about tennis and their insecurities and depression and everything. So overall, great performances. But the little tidbits that I took out are most at the very beginning of the movie. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so for the first one here, he just escaped a mob of people that wanted autographs and photos and everything. And he had a coffee at this guy's place and he can't pay for it, so he has to carry things to kind of make up for that money. And the thing that I want to take out here is this: as he comes back and wants to pick up the last couple boxes, he sees this, a piece of paper with his, the current nemesis that the newspapers don't want to pit against him. And he doesn't really want to think about this. It's too much pressure. He's just kind of annoyed by everything. What I liked about this is that he sees this, right? And then he puts the box on top of it and then carries the box out. So there are two things that are actually technically cool. A is that, if you follow this channel, you know that I'm a big fan of props and characters handling props, but in terms of telling us something more about the character, their emotion, if they like something, they don't like something. There's a clip in Voyager where Neelix breaks pieces of food, and technically he's a chef. He likes to cook, and for him to actually break something that he loves, even though as cheesy as it may be in that scene, it's still an extension of the emotion. It kind of drives us really home, like, this is how I feel. And for this, it's like, I don't want to think about this guy. I don't want to think about McEnroe, so I'm going to put something on top of it so that I don't even have to see it, and then I'm going to carry on with my carrying, objectives. And you see this in movies a lot where someone sees, maybe they go into an apartment or house of their ex or something, or I don't know, like a person they don't like. And there's a frame of that character, and they look at it and I hate that person, and then they take the frame and kind of put it down, so face down, so they don't have to look at it. Again, it's a simple thing, but it's something again that you could potentially use with your props. And the second thing that I liked is that technically he lifts the boxes, right? So as we go back, he puts this down, boom, lifts up the box, and then leaves and continues the scene with him. And that, in a way, is your weight assignment. So you could technically show someone wanting to pick something up. If you would copy this, don't copy this, but if you would, it would be about a character that sees something they don't like, they put the box on top of it. It's like, I don't want to look at this, and then they carry the box and get out. So it's more about a character thing, and a love interest that is, now I don't want to look at this, or someone they hate, or someone in the news they don't want to look at, whatever it is, but it becomes a character thing and something about what the character likes or dislikes. But it happens to include a box lift. So always going back to, it's cool to kind of mask your exercises into something that's more character driven. Next sequence is McEnroe doing a late night interview type of thing where he's clearly annoyed by the questions because the late night host is constantly asking about his, press nemesis, Bjorn Borg. So as you see in this sequence, it's a longer sequence, I can scrub through it, you can see the nervousness. What I liked a lot is that there's a lot of moments where he is not able to keep the gaze and look at the audience or at the interviewer. He always kind of looks down. He's kind of nervous, kind of shy. There's a lot of looking down. And again, it's a longer sequence, but you can see the progression. So he's kind of nervous. There's a lot of stuff going on here. He challenges him. There's a lot of questions, right, where he looks at him and he points things out, and he has that kind of, okay. But then as he progresses and asks things, you can see how he's just not comfortable. There's a lot of twitches, a lot of looks. He can't hold the gaze. He's looking down, and this goes on and on and on. And it's interesting too in the filmmaking where, again, he brings up the super brat, and he gets annoyed. It's like, okay, yeah. You can't really look at this, can't really look at the audience. And the build-up is neat. There are two things in this. The build-up of him getting more and more annoyed, and you can see how he's not that comfortable just the way in his poses. He always looks down. And as this interview progresses, you can see that every now and then he looks at him because there's flares up where he wants to challenge. Like, why are we talking about this? And especially when he says, well, I'm going to be number one, and then people can boo me off. And that's like one of those moments where he actually looks at the audience and nods and goes, yeah, I got the support now, type of thing. And then it's kind of the flip side of all the fans, and he's the star, everybody loves him, and he's not comfortable at all. Again, he looks down as well. There are moments where he doesn't want to do this, and as he gets out and sees his trainer, pushes him off, and goes, I gotta get out of here, and I don't care about those people. This is too much pressure, and I need to get into the car. So it's interesting how he compares both players. They're both very uncomfortable. But as this interview continues, and again, as you've watched my acting analysis clips, and if you have not, this is something I like a lot, is eye contact, where you hold the gaze or you don't, or how many times do you go up and down? Do you keep eye contact, and for how long? And is there progression in this? And what I like about this clip is that after all of this and all the looks, and again, him bringing up this and constantly talking about that, as this continues and he gets more and more challenged, he gets more and more annoyed, especially here. He's like, why are we talking about this? Why are we not talking about me? I'm here and we should be talking about me. And as he gets more annoyed, you can see that last stare right there. Boom, talks to him. Boom, and locks and holds in. And as you watch this in real time, it progresses. You can see the nervousness and how he gets more and more irritated with his performance and the voice delivery and everything. And it's just a cool ending of, like, this is the challenge. Like, why are we doing this? Why are you talking to me like this? Why are we not talking about me and tennis? And that's something just really cool. It's something, again, subjective that I like. But I like those moments where you can see a build-up, a progression. And there's so much in performances where we look at eyes. We don't look at lip sync or whatever it is. We just look at characters' eyes. And there's so much you can do with nervous blinks and eye darts or progression into just a stare. So the next two sequences are more about composition and staging, less about little acting bits. But I thought it was really cool and something you could potentially think about as you do a scene with multiple shots, multiple characters, or just kind of a setup of where to place your characters. And what does it mean? Is it helpful? And is there some other meaning in terms of, do they tell us something about the story or the feelings, or are they helpful, and so on and so on. So let me show you. So as this continues here, they go to a meeting and it's all about sponsorship, and you can see the setup here. He is doing the whole thing leaning forward. He's somewhat engaged, but he's not leaning back, disengaged. But he's very, very concentrated. And you got another guy who's part of this guy and the trainer. And I like this already. So as we come into the sequence, you can see that there's this visual thing of, she is kind of asking questions about, well, why are we doing this? I thought we said no to this. And he's not quite engaged, but it's this visual separation between her. Here are all these guys that want to attack and take advantage of him, and she's trying to have that wedge. She's trying to separate them. I might be reading too much into this, but I like that, because here she is questioning at this point what this guy is saying, and I kind of like that visual separation between these two. But then after that, you can see as this continues, I like this a lot here, where he's engaged and they're part of it here. He's part of this. And you see just the trainer stays in this pose, and he's kind of just sitting there as if he was part of the team, but not really. He's not really focusing on Borg and not really helping. You can see how he's just kind of separate, staying in that pose. I thought that was kind of interesting too. And again, this continues on with the sequence where every now and then, he has that engagement and continues, and you can see that he's still kind of on his side. But it kind of foreshadows the potential conflict between the coach and the player, which I won't go too far into it because of spoilers, well, unless you know the story and so on and so on. But the other time where I think the staging is interesting and how you place the characters, and it's a subtle thing, it's small, but it could still be interesting to kind of read into that. So when you have the sequence here and he is being kind of reprimanded for his emotional outburst, and you can see that this guy, right? So he is, for him, attacking him and saying, you can't play, we don't want you here. An interesting thing is that the mother is obviously sitting next to the child, kind of on the same side, and she wants to defend him. She understands that, this is not good for him. I don't want to be against him. So you have him against both of them. She's on the same side as her son. And as this switches to, as he says, well, maybe this is not for you, we switch to this scene. So not that they are in the same space, but he has glasses, might not say not the same haircut, but it's kind of the same thing where he's upset, right? And the mother is waiting and waiting, like, what is this going to be and what is he going to say? But what I like about this is that at this point, as she's waiting, she is next to him. Again, it's not like she is sitting here and they will be both attacking him. She is on his side and she's also going to defend her son. But I like this, he's almost centered. They're very much at the edge of the frame. It's not comfortable. There's so much room. He takes up so much room and importance, and there's so much pushback against these two. And I thought that was very interesting. And also in his acting too, as he's now ready to talk, he does lean forward. There is a more invasion of the privacy, but also more space taken away. Before that, you might argue, well, they might have this much space, but as he goes forward, it's just more taken away from that comfortable space, and it's just more uncomfortable. And there's that oppression, that visual oppression of, why are you doing this? Why are you against me? But I like that. I like that moment of, this is an interesting visual cue of, she is with him. There's not that much room. It's uncomfortable. He takes up all that room and still goes forward, engaged, and has that confrontation, and is kind of pushing against them and going into the family conflict and how that informs the childhood of the player and how he deals with pressure and confrontation, and so on and so on. And the last thing I want to talk about is, again, not really an acting bit and not really a staging thing. It's a simple prop thing. Again, I know props. But one of the dangers in animation is that you leave your character too much in their default pose. We talked about this before, where your overall pose, if it's too default, doesn't tell us much about the character. Maybe the character is always like this. There's always kind of a slump forward, or the head is always like this, and that's their default state, and it's a special character trait. And in this case, as we look at this here, he needs a board, and the hotel can't give him a board, so he starts writing things on the wall. So it's kind of a list of the players and everything that he's facing. And I liked this. Now, I know this might sound silly, like why do you like this? What I like about this is that it kind of forces the character into a different shape. And this is very animation specific, not in terms of performance. But if you just have lip sync and the character's just in this default pose, and then you deliver the line and then go back to a default pose, which is also a common thing that students do, it just has that feeling of kind of fakeness and CG-ness, which is always kind of that default face, and there's not enough asymmetry. But by having potentially, and I'm going to push this where I got this here, right? So if I draw, instead of, he seems to have it very in the middle, but if you would push this and stylize this for animation, it could be more on the side. I got almost like a cigar, where it just forces you to go away from your default shape. And it's an interesting visual cue. Maybe you can go bigger, where he starts drawing and needs different colors. And the more he draws, the more of those he puts in his mouth, so that at the end he has a lot of them different colors, and that could be a visual gag for whatever reason. But I think it's something interesting where it will force you to go beyond the default state of the character, be it the pose, and in this case, the face. So again, towards the end of the movie, there's more about tennis. And to be honest, I really liked the movie, and I probably got too sucked into this where I stopped analyzing this. So I might go back. I'm definitely going to watch it again just because I like the movie, but I might see other things and I might bring it up in a part 2. I don't know. But for now, I think that's enough. Enough little bits and pieces that I think could be interesting, as always, for animation. If you've seen the movie and you've seen other things, of course, comment, let me know. And the usual ending, if you like this, give this a like, subscribe if you want to see all the updates, hit that bell button if you want to get all the notifications for my uploads. You know the spiel, always the same thing at the end, but it helps me in the channel. I can see the growth in the channel and the interest in it. But again, if you see anything else in the movie that you liked or disliked, or any other bits and pieces, or if you're just a tennis fan and there's some tennis moments that you liked, let me know in the comments. The thing that I liked a lot, I'm a big fan when I play on clay, because I like running and sliding into the ball and then playing. It's just something about timing it correctly that you can run and slide and hit the ball. So I was a big fan of the movie. Of course, maybe I'm biased because I like the sport. But even if you don't like the sport, I think there was a lot in terms of just the face-off, the tension, the build-up, and that's my dog. I don't know if you can hear this with this mic, probably. But anyway, I need to end it anyway. Watch the movie if you haven't. If you're a tennis fan, watch it for sure. And that's it. And I will see you tomorrow for the F&A as the dog goes crazy.